Welcome back to That's So Vegas. I'm your host, Christine McKellar, and boy, it's just whamma jamma today because we had Terry Fader and his lovely bride, Angie Fiore Fader. They just left, and look who's here. Kevin Burke,
Hey.
defending the Caveman.
How's it going, world?
Well, the world loves you because every time I have
Aw.
mentioned or posted or commented that
Aw.
you're coming on the show, the people turn into mush puppies.
Wow.
I know.
That should be the name of the Caveman fan base. Mush
The Mush
Puppies.
Puppies.
I like it.
Right off the bat, I wanted to just do a little bit of background because with you, I get the whole half hour, and kind of with Terry and his wife, it was kind of, we were rushing a little bit, but we don't
Nice.
have to rush.
No, we can take our time.
You have a theatrical background, genetically speaking, don't you?
Genetically speaking, oh yes, my great grandmother was a vaudeville performer. She had a novelty roller skating act called Nick's Roller Skating Girls.
Cool.
And she did a novelty bicycle act called the Verona Cycle Troupe. And she was a vaudeville artist up until about 1910 to 1912, somewhere in there.
Well, she must have been very athletic, and women
Yeah.
back then, they
Yeah.
didn't really tout that much. Was she also
No.
a medium?
Well,
or was that...
she was on tour in Australia, and she got tired of being on the road. And she wanted to come back to the United States and just live here. And so she bought from a phony psychic medium in Australia, she bought the psychic medium con. And she came back to the U.S.
Ah.
She opened a seance parlor in New York City, and essentially she was a con artist.
So there is like a con seance package you could buy. I wonder if Houdini was aware of that.
Well, yeah, he was. As a matter of fact, one of his investigators, because they investigated all the seance parlors in New York City.
Right.
And one of his investigators came to one of her seances, and went back and reported to the boss that, hey, it's Hetty Riley, who we knew in vaudeville. So Houdini very quietly sent her a message that's saying, either close it down or I'll expose you.
Wow, that's
But out of
amazing.
courtesy to another
Of
vaudeville performer,
course.
he didn't blast it out in the media right away.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's a nice
yeah.
little bit of family history that
Yeah.
you passed on.
Yeah.
And then your grandfather, what did he do?
He was a comic for a while.
Oh, good.
He was
That's where you got your little funny bone,
Yeah,
or
he was
two.
a stand-up comic for a while, and then he later became a saloon owner in Calumet City, Illinois.
Very cool. I like comedy and saloon.
There you go. You can't go wrong with that.
And you've performed. I just love. Why is it that you picked Defending the Caveman as your platform for your talent? Because
Well-
you have a funny bone.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You know, I won the $10,000 grand prize on America's Funniest People, if you remember that show
Yay.
from way back in the 90s, yeah. I was doing a one-man show about being a dad and being a former circus clown. I was a clown with Ringling Brothers.
Wow.
And being the great-grandson of a fraudulent spiritualist medium. I was doing that one-man show, and it was all about how this is the legacy that I would pass down to my daughter. And then she was 2.5 at the time, and she came running on stage at the end of the show with her clown nose on and did circus tricks. Well, mutual friends of ours in stand-up comedy, mine and Rob Becker's, the original star and playwright of Defending the Caveman, they knew that Rob was looking for someone to replace himself out on the Broadway tour. They suggested me to Rob. That got me into the audition process, and I put some of the lines down on tape and sent it in, and Rob hired me to replace himself. But the reason that I like it so much is because it's a comedy that builds people up. It brings couples closer together instead of tearing them apart.
Right.
You know, I love Dice Clay, but if this was, Andrew Dice Caveman,
Yeah.
it would hurt my soul to do that show. But because this is a show that makes people fall in love all over again,
Interesting.
it's a show that I could happily do, until I retire.
Wow, and we'll talk about that probably in the next segment. That
Okay.
was one of the questions. And you've done the show here in Vegas how many times? Over 800, I want to say?
No, my goodness, no. We've done the show over 3,000 times in Vegas. Actually, I think we're coming up on our 4,000th performance.
Whoa, where'd I
we've
get
been-
800?
Well, we have done 800. We've just done some more.
Oh, well, I'm not good at math anyway.
Yeah, me
but-
neither.
No, it's all good. But how do you manage to keep the show so fresh? Because people just love it. They keep coming back for more. These aren't just first timers.
Yeah. Well, it's a one-man show, but that's not quite an accurate description. It's a two-character play. I'm one character. The audience is the other character, and it's I've heard it described as a theatrical conversation. And I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah, because the audience gives me feedback. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of back and forth. And so when your acting partner, the audience,
Right.
is different every single night, the show has to be fresh.
Yeah,
Because
but
it's a
you're
new show every
quick-witted
night.
enough to keep up with all that. I mean, and you have
I
to
hope
kind of
so,
drive
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. And we constantly update the show. We bring new science into the show. The show is based on a study of anthropology and sociology.
Men versus women.
No, not versus.
Or,
no.
excuse me.
We explain men to women. We
There you
explain women to men.
Right.
There's no bashing. It's not a war.
Right.
And it's neither side's right or wrong. We're just different.
Exactly.
For example,
Venus and Mars type different?
yes. However,
Okay.
Defending the Caveman premiered in San Francisco in 1991. John Gray, the author of Venus and Mars, lived in San Francisco, published his book in 1992.
Ah, a little
I ain't saying nothing.
inspiration.
I'm just giving you the timeline.
Yeah, there's
Caveman came first.
some inspiration there.
Possibly.
Yeah, you're a licensed minister as well. We just had a moment about that
Well,
online.
Yeah, that's kind of an exaggeration. It's technically true. I'm an internet minister, ordained on the internet, which
That's
is very easy
cool.
to do. But some people came to us and they wanted a caveman wedding, and so I got internet ordained so that I could perform the wedding service, and I've performed 2 caveman weddings so far.
And do you still perform them upon request?
If anybody
or-
asks, sure, yeah.
Really? They get
yeah.
married there at the show at the D?
Yeah, at the end of the show, we perform
D
the
Hotel
ceremony.
downtown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's fun.
I'd like to talk a little bit more because I think it's fascinating. You're helping men and women understand each other.
Yes.
But you're coming from a male perspective. Does your
Sure.
wife have input?
No, she
no.
no, it's not that. It's just that she stays out of it. She really basically has no interest in show business. It's my job, and I go do my job, and she does her job. But the show is a very even-handed look at men and women. And again, the playwright Rob Becker talked to women's studies professors all across the country and brought all of this wonderful information and some science into it. We just found out, this is brand new science.
Only first here on That's So Vegas.
Absolutely.
Tell us.
They've isolated the FOXP2 protein. This is the protein which enables human beings to speak. And they found that women have a significantly higher percentage of that protein
Are
in
you
their
serious?
bodies. Yes. Which backs up the other study that we talk about in Caveman, that women on average will speak 20,000 words in a day. Men,
Wow.
7,000.
Ooh.
Which explains a lot.
Boing.
Yeah,
Now, that's a
yeah,
big
yeah,
difference.
Yeah, because so many times, I come home, my wife thinks I'm in a bad mood or I'm mad at her. Now I realize I'm just out of words.
Yeah. My little protein thing is.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've done my 7,000 for the day. She's got 13,000 to go. And you know where you see this?
Where?
When we text message.
Oh.
Yeah, a woman will text her guy and say, honey, we really need a night out, so let's have a nice, long, romantic dinner, and then, let's go see Defending the Caveman at the D, starring the irrepressible Kevin Burke. He will reply with, K.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What are they going to come up with next? A way to suppress that Fox K5 or whatever it is in
The Fox
women?
P2?
Or
No,
P2
it's part of
just
our
a genetic
part of our
coding.
makeup. It's who we are.
So a lot of things between men and women is anthropological, and that
Sure.
it goes so far back. It's
Sure.
so embedded in the gene
Yeah.
that regardless of how trendy something
Yeah.
becomes, it isn't going to alter the fact of the
No,
base.
there are things that go all the way back to prehistoric times. Back in prehistoric times, men were hunters.
Of course.
And women were gatherers.
Right.
And those are 2 totally different skill sets. A hunter concentrates on his prey to the exclusion of everything else in the whole wide world
Right.
until it's dead. And men are great at that.
Yes.
But there are drawbacks. That's why a guy has to turn down the radio in the car when he gets lost.
He's got to focus.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
we're going
women-
to we'll
okay,
focus
no,
a little
you do
bit.
your thing.
We have a little bit of a break coming up. Bingo.
All right. Gotta pay the
And
bills,
don't go away,
baby.
because we're going to get back to why men turn the volume down and why women turn it up, I guess you were going to say. Don't go away. This segment is sponsored by the Red Roof Inn on Paradise, close to the airport in the Strip. We'll be right back with Kevin Burke, now performing at the D downtown Las Vegas. Stay tuned.